Let me see if I'm truly in the right place. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
I'm hip hop simply because it's something that I live. You know, it's not just listening to the music. It's the way you dress. It's your embracing of the culture. You know, it's not just a black or a white thing. You know, it's embracing every aspect of the culture, from the music to the written art, to the drawn art, I would say, to the clothing. You know, it's not just the clothes that you wear, it's how you wear it. You know, who would have ever thought that wearing a bicycle chain on your belt would be hot, like the diplomats are doing, but they put that swag to it, and they made that hip hop. It's just has to do with just embracing the culture and living it and living by the rules of it.
In a lot of ways, I think before hip-hop comes along, people really don't have a way to represent themselves, to represent in public. And so basically silent in a lot of ways. Not really seen by people, not really heard from people. But hip-hop gives a lot of people of color, you know, a voice and a medium to express themselves in. So I was reading, there's a book by Trisha Rose called Black Noise that talks about some of the early days in hip-hop. And she talks about a crisis in representation. The silencing of young black people, and really talks about how hip-hop sort of came along, gave people access to an economic structure, cultural representation. People were able to represent themselves in ways that they felt comfortable with, and they basically were able to market this. So in that sense, we sort of see, you know, when economic conditions produce certain kinds of conditions for young people, we see hip-hop as that reaction.
Hip-hop development is a developmental process. It's a process that recognizes and uses hip-hop culture as the mechanism, okay, as the catalyst for youth development and youth engagement. Now, I say it's this rose that grew from concrete because many adults were not providing any water for it, didn't fertilize it, because they didn't believe in it. They thought it was a passing fad. But hip-hop, regardless of whether or not we embrace it or not, it will thrive through the cracks of the sidewalks in the inner cities, today in rural America, today in suburban America. Hip-hop is going to thrive, and this rose is going to continue to grow. So what are we going to do? We're going to just let it just be out there and let hip-hop develop our children? Or are we going to take part in hip-hop development and take the formal features of the culture, take the characteristics of the culture, and use what works for us to take what we are already doing to a whole nother level? What you going to do?
We need to sit back down at the kitchen table. Mother to father, father to son, niece to nephew, uncle, everybody, and say, what can we do together as a family unit through hip-hop, through love, through education, to build on? I don't like to sit and blame racism and sexism for why I don't have ism, or why I don't know ism. I'm not one of those people, because people before me fought to give me the foundation to build something greater. Not to sit and say it doesn't exist, because we will continue to be the CNN of the ghetto. We will continue to let you know what's wrong, what's right, what things you should aspire to be, and things to inspire other people to be. I remember when people say, well, y'all don't really talk about anything. I said, you really don't listen, because we've been talking about it for 30 years.
18 to life. See, the judge told me I could do 18 or I could do life, and I chose life. So now I'm serving 2 consecutive life sentences with no possibility for parole. See, the judge was nice, though, and said that they can run concurrent, but there's no need for me to come back from the dead to fulfill my obligation. But there's no escaping the fact that I'm in this thing for life. See, it's a self-imposed life sentence today. Witness the reading of my last will and testament and observe that long silence and mourn for remembrance. See, I'm in this thing until there's nothing left of me, until the death of me, until you two represent the best of me. See, I'm in this thing until my tongue starts cleaving and my lungs starts breathing and my heart starts beating, and I finally understand the true meaning of sleeping. See, I'm in this thing until this world no longer exists. Or listen to, you can open up your newspaper and in the obituary section read in big bold print that today marks the passing of Zion the wordsmith. See, I'm in this thing for life, but brother, I chose life when the prosecution only wanted to give me 18 years. Figured that after 7 of them, I would go scared and file an appeal and get up out of there. And in her mind, it was only fair, see, because for 9 months, it was she alone who would carry the burden of this case, and I was just an innocent bystander. Standing by her, yet somehow absorbing the brunt of the frontal attack that was coming from our harshest critics who would sentence us to failure, but for her, that wasn't enough.
This is not a debate about hip-hop. This is rather how we can use hip-hop to elevate the social ills in the community.
Hip-hop was started by poor people. We're a $10 billion industry, but we're still poor. My question is, why is that?
When hip-hop was growing, when we was coming into the money, we was sort of learning on our own. We didn't have the older people that had businesses to teach us that business model.
I understand the frustration with why don't we have more, but we have to understand why we don't have more. And I think part of that is really looking at how wealth is generated in terms of homes, in terms of inheritance, real systems that are set up in this country to distribute wealth between generations.
The people that are pushing the negative side of hip-hop are, have billion-dollar bank accounts. And it seems like they should have enough money to where they don't have to care what message they put out, so why not just put out a more positive one?
I live 5 minutes away from where Sean Bell got murdered by police. It's hard to be talking about, having a good time and everything where you got this black man that just got shot 50 times. Society is, you can't really blame the music. You have to look at society a little bit more.
A lot of hip-hop is positive. Okay, so we tend to focus in on the negative, unfortunately, while I really believe and know that you can use some of the songs that may not sound like music to our ears for positive gains, to talk to young people about what they should not be doing.
There are so many young people that I know who are excited about owning their own businesses and becoming entrepreneurs and going out there and shaking up the community. But there's a huge, financial block if you're 21, 22, 23. We just graduated college, and yeah, we work at Target trying to be a manager. So how do we get that financial stability or that base from the bottom to build up?
Everything is not going to happen just like that. And sometimes we think that it might happen just like that. The whole emphasis on delayed gratification, I can't stress enough, because it does take time.
True entrepreneurship starts with the will and a desire not to fail, but to accept the obstacles, but to have that creative idea that you don't even need. Listen, it's what I tell people, when you have an idea that can travel, money is the least of your worries.
I grew up when hip-hop, I listened to groups like Tribe Called Quest, Run DMC, when a lot of the music was positive. And for me personally, I've kind of felt like hip-hop has taken a downturn. And today to listen to the panel talk about hip-hop development specifically, and even with not so positive messages, how we as a community can take that and use that to educate our youth and educate our communities. So even in the bad, there's good. And that was reinforced for me tonight.
I run a nonprofit foundation for students in Baltimore City that focuses on entrepreneurship, and the connection between entrepreneurship and hip-hop is so amazing, and it kind of took the kids to point that out to me, and then to come here and see it and hear so many people echoing that was really, really important to learn.
I came here with an open mind, and I definitely learned a lot. I took a lot of notes. There was a lot of quotes to remember. I felt like, I was a student and I was learning from mentors like Kevin Lyles and everyone else in the panelists. It was great.
The idea about delayed gratification, I learned it in a different setting, but to hear somebody who's, a little further along in their career, it made a big difference.